Hello. Today we are going to be exploring basics of baking and we'll concentrate on measurements. This video was recorded during one of our baking classes. Why do we need measurements? Accurate measurements are very important in baking. As we always say, baking is science and precision ensures best results. We usually classify ingredients into two main types, dry and wet. Dry ingredients include flour, sugar, baking soda, baking powder, and such, even salt. And wet ingredients include all the liquids and fats such as water, milk, curds, butter, oil, and even eggs and other sweeteners such as honey or any other syrup that you use instead of sugar. To measure these, we need some basic measuring tools. These tools include measuring cups, measuring spoons, measuring jars, and kitchen scale as well. Usually, dry ingredients are measured using measuring cups and spoons. While we can measure the liquids using these cups, many prefer measuring jars. All of these ingredients can be measured in kitchen scale, and kitchen scale is the best because it gives very accurate measurements. To start with, we'll measure one dry ingredient and one wet ingredient. For dry, we've taken whole wheat flour, and for wet, we've taken water. Let's start with the measuring of the dry ingredients. When measuring ingredients like flour in a measuring cup, there are a couple of methods to consider. One is the scoop and level method, which involves scooping the flour into your measuring cup and leveling it with a flat edge. The other method is to spoon and level. We'll use a spoon to fill in the cup and then level it out. In both these methods, it is very important not to pack the flour or to shake the cup because that's going to give you very inaccurate measurement. Today we'll use the scoop and level method. I'm going to scoop the flour inside the measuring cup and use a butter knife to level it out so that there won't be any excess flour. Do it very gently so that it won't get, pressed. Let's now calibrate this. We'll cross check the quantity in the kitchen scale. As always, kitchen scale is going to give you precise measurement. It shows 126 grams, which is in line with 125 to 130 grams. So, 1 cup of whole wheat flour usually weighs anywhere between 125 to 130 grams. A few grams here and there doesn't hinder our recipe. But what if your recipe calls for a precise number? Say, for example, if your recipe calls for 120 grams of flour, we'll use the kitchen scale to measure precisely. This should be around 100 grams. Yeah, it says 108. We'll add a bit more to get it to 120. Yeah. So, as always, kitchen scale is going to give you the accurate measurement. However, for starting stages, you can always use the measuring cups. Just make sure that you use the same set of measuring cups and spoons for all the ingredients. These measuring spoons are very important for smaller quantities such as baking soda, baking powder, or salt, even essences and extracts. The spoons usually contain four quantities: 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon, and 1/4 of a teaspoon. For even more smaller quantities, we do have other spoons which go up to 1/8 and 1/16 also. But that's not required for now. How do we measure in these spoons? The same way, scoop and level. And we also need to know the conversions. 1 cup is equal to 16 tablespoons. That's the general thumb rule. We will look into conversion of spoons to cups and cups to grams, ml to grams in the forthcoming videos when we experiment on various bakes. Now let's move on to measuring the liquid ingredient. As I said, we'll take water for liquid measurement. These types of measuring jars are optional. We can always use the same cups to measure the liquid ingredients also. However, these are nice to have, and if you're used to measuring your liquids in these kind of cups in ml, this is always a good to have one. So this has both on ounces as well as ml on
either side of the jar. Now let's see if our cup, the 250 ml cup, is going to hold 250 ml of water. When using a measuring jar, it is very important to check the water level at eye level so that there won't be a parallax error. Let us calibrate this as well, because many measuring cups might say 250 ml, but then it could measure slightly more or even less. Using a measuring jar and kitchen scale to cross check these measurements actually help us with accuracy for future usage. All right, now we'll pour the water in this cup and see if it is equal to 250 ml. Now we'll pour the water inside this cup and check this at an eye level. You can see that it is at 250 ml, between 200 and 300 ml, so it's 250 ml. Now let's cross check this in the kitchen scale as well. It should be coming around 250 grams because 1 ml of water is equal to 1 gram of water. We'll cover it in conversion later. Let's pour it. It shows 249, which is very close. So that's how measuring dry and wet ingredients happen. Now we have also calibrated our measuring jars and cups. We can use the same method of measuring other wet ingredients such as milk, oil, and other wet ingredients. And remember, eye level measurement. So measuring something at an eye level is nothing but placing the jar on a flat surface and making sure that our eyes are level with the liquid surface. This will prevent any errors. If we are looking at an angle, it's going to be different. That's what is called as parallax error. To avoid such errors and also avoid any calibration errors, for example, this cup says 250 ml, but some of the cups might be 240 ml also. In certain metrics, one cup is equal to 240 ml. And in some of the cups, the units might not even be mentioned. So we can avoid all these confusions by going for a kitchen scale. If you're planning to bake regularly, I would suggest go for a kitchen scale. That said, let's not undermine the importance of measuring cups and jars. They are always handy. And measuring spoons are very important to measure smaller quantities because we cannot measure a pinch of salt or a 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda in these kitchen scales. That's it for today's session. I hope this was helpful. Please do try it out at home and let me know how it goes. If you have any questions or doubts, please let me know. We can cover it in the next sessions. Thank you.